Rishabh Pant can make batting look incredibly hard. His ability to find shapes for his body to get into that confound the rest of the cricket world also sometimes make it impossible to do what he wants, which is just smack the ever-loving shit out of the ball. His childhood gymnastics force him into the splits when simply standing on 2 feet might work better. He's part batter, part tumbler. However, he also has a very unusual last few years of injury history. And no, I'm not referring to his hamstring strain of 2020 in the IPL. That would have affected his keeping and his running between the wickets. But actually, had he stood in the middle, he would have been able to bat. In 2021, he briefly had an elbow injury as well. And we've seen players like Sachin Tendulkar, Kane Williamson and Steve Smith really struggle with this. There was actually a thought that the Kiwi might have to retire because of it. But it wasn't as much of an issue for Pant. The really important one, of course, and we're bearing the lead a little bit here, was the car accident. That ruined his knee and almost ended his entire career. There's also a mental injury here too. This was not a simple thing for him to overcome, but he did, and then it was back to his knee. You can bat with an injured knee. The bigger issue is running between the wickets. But bad knees can change your bat path. Instead of coming down straight, the blade comes across the ball. Players in Test cricket quite often start to nick off in a way that they didn't earlier in their careers. And for T20 guys, there's a lot of top edges that go straight up in the air. Then of course, when he got over the knee, in the last test, it was a finger. It was either broken, bruised, or he lost his finger down. It might have actually been a combination of all three. A finger injury is tricky, but many batters carry broken digits into tests. In fact, Damien Martin won a World Cup in 2003 with them. Every batter is different because some can't grip the bat at all and others barely notice. Pant is a keeper, so he has really sore fingers, I would assume, every single day of his life. And then you get the broken foot. To someone like Hashim Amla, I wonder how much it would actually change his batting. He was so still and balanced that maybe he'd feel the odd twinge. But Pant is not balanced. In fact, he's almost gloriously off kilter, like Salvador Dali's clock or a gyroscope. But he doesn't just need his feet for normal cricket shots. He also uses them to charge down the wicket like an absolute maniac. Let's be honest, feet are important to all batters, but they are especially crucial for Rishabh Pant. Brian Lara used pot plants to work on his placement. John Wright glued his glove to his bat. Sachin Tendulkar dug up practice pitches. Tatenda Taibu cut the top off his bat. Claire Taylor used a hockey grip. Steve Smith was from tennis. Dean Jones would call phantom runs, and Victor Trumper turned the nets into a war zone to survive. The best batters in the world do whatever they have to make runs. We have told their stories in our new book, The Art of Batting. So watching him come out to bat with a broken metatarsal to bat in a test was as wild as some of the shots he plays. It was another brilliant day of cricket's mad prince. Lawrence Rowe was elegance. In the 1970s, he would whistle tunes to himself between balls, barely move that famous grey nickel scoop down straight, only to make polite suggestions to the ball, which would then race off to the square boundary. He was the first man to score a double and a single ton in a test match, piling up 314 runs in that game, a record that still stands. But then, sadly, that all came unravelling. A misdiagnosed knee injury stole his footwork and altered his bat path. Instead of dancing to spinners, he hobbled. Then the headaches started. Playing county cricket, Rowe was found to be allergic to grass. Grass. Of all the kryptonites, this must be the worst for any cricketer. He also couldn't really see right. A growth in his eye had blurred his vision, and glasses made things look more like a Picasso painting. Contacts were of no help to him either. In under 2 years, the man who was averaging 70 in tests was now going at 32 in first-class cricket. By the end, he was broken. Michael Holding remembers Rowe refusing to bat on a damp pitch in like a charity game or something because he could not be the Lawrence Rowe that people were expecting. He went from being compared to Sobers and Bradman to exiling himself in the US after taking apartheid money to play in South Africa. Tony Cozier once said that there was no one better than Rowe. But he also said that the fear of failure gripped him. And that might be all that's left. A whisper of greatness, lost behind allergies, injury, and an eye that just couldn't see the ball anymore. And of all the players who've been afflicted by injuries, perhaps no one has more of a tragic story than him. But the Michaels, Clark, and Atherton became human pinatas towards the end of their careers due to back injuries. Being bent over the blade for incredible amounts of times can stiffen up that part of the body. And against fast bowling, it stops you being able to move right, meaning that you're essentially just in the way. Another Michael, Vaughan, had a knee injury that, by the end of his career, meant that he just couldn't bring his bat down straight. And instead of edging, he just missed a lot of them. In fact, Michael Vaughan getting bowled became an early meme before we even really had cricket memes. Martin Crowe had a similar issue with his knees, and what should have been his golden years when his youthful arrogance met his technical mastery ended with him just kind of out of the game. Fellow Kiwi Ross Taylor played through eye issues in his career, some of which he didn't even realise had affected him that bad until after he retired. But they essentially meant that he was unable to pick up the ball in cloudy conditions or under lights. The phrase, "his eye is gone," is one of the most used in cricket, when a batter is no longer making runs that they once did. We just say they can't see it. And it's probably never quite that simple. But some players suddenly struggle to pick up the ball late in their career. In fact, some batters are so worried that they won't even go and see an optometrist because a bad diagnosis can mean you might be done. So obviously the eyes are the worst, but the feet and I suppose legs aren't far behind. To get your head into the right position, you really need to move into the ball. The old forward press isn't really used as much now as it once was. But the hovering front foot, where you don't quite fully plant it, but keep it ready to move, is modern cricket's go-to technique. And for that, you even put more pressure on your foot as you push back violently. And Rishabh Pant's foot was not even hovering, it was barely hanging on. He couldn't use it for much of anything, including many painful and horrible looking runs. Washington Sundar might want to get the ice for his friend after several times he tried to see how fast he could make a man with a broken metatarsal hurriedly hobble towards the other crease. Now, whether this is just another one-off injury or something that changes anything, we don't know. Batting can be weird. What we do know is how it changed the ground today. It was an incredible moment to be here. When Pant came down those stairs, I've never seen as many members of the press move to the front of the box just to watch a man walk. Cricket has a history of moments where batters have come out to bat with something broken. Sometimes not much is made of it, like the many players with busted fingers, or when Kevin Peterson batted with a broken toe all the way through the 2013 Ashes. And sometimes it seems to change the reputation of a player. Malcolm Marshall's one-handed swings were some of the most dramatic moments in cricket in that era. Graham Smith basically made Mark Nicholas cry on commentary when he came out with his broken hand. Rick McCosker is mostly known in Australia for batting with a shattered jaw. And Anil Kumble also bowled with the same. Not to mention that Elise Perry took it one step further by bowling with a fractured leg. England's Ian Bell even came out to bat in a moon boot with a broken metatarsal against Bangladesh. He was out in the middle for 3 minutes though, and didn't face a ball as poor Jonathan Trott missed out on the win in the final over. There just is something special about this. The players willing to stand in front of a small projectile being fired at them while already being broken. Facing a ball at that speed is like getting a brick fired from a shotgun at you. It can be tough on your best days, but when you're already hurt, not moving how you should be, it can be terrifying. So Rishabh Pant has hobbled into history here, and he swung wildly. Hit the worst shot off a full toss you'll ever see, blocked the ball through cover for 4 past a sweeper, and smashed a ball for 6 that almost went all the way to Leeds. And eventually he lost his off stump to an absolute ripper, only for him to limp back off the field and then up the suspiciously large amount of stairs to the Indian change room. Because of his car accident and just the random way he plays, he's already made this incredible legacy for himself. But limping out onto Old Trafford is now part of it. Rishabh Pant hit Jofra Archer for 6 with a broken foot. Because, of course he did. Only he can reach this level of wow, madness and respect in one moment. Nothing can shatter cricket's most entertaining mad prince.
Ross Taylor couldn't see at night or when the clouds were in. Eventually he had to see an eye specialist who would fix his eyesight. In the 2 years before the change, he still averaged more than 50 in international cricket. The top level of batting talent can basically see in the dark. That is who we are talking about in our new book, The Art of Batting. Head over and order your copy today.